Now, on each one of these I used the same amount of pressure, but they all came out as slightly different values. Now, this time I'm going to press down pretty firmly, and you'll be able to see another difference between them all. Oops, broke that one. Now again, I'm using basically the same pressure with each pencil. With a bunch of different outcomes. Okay, now I'm going to use just the lightest amount of pressure. B. HB. Two H, where to go? 2H. And finally the 4H. Now, as you can see, they all look a lot different. You can almost can't even see the 4H, it's so light. Don't know if you can see, each pencil has its own value range, but if you look closely at the B shading, there's a lot of little white specks in here. And even though I use the same pressures, they appear to be a little bit darker. And in the light shadows here, even though I use the same pressure, you might notice that the B pencils seem a little splotchier. The key to understanding this is that every paper has a slightly different texture. The paper you use in your printer is real smooth. Most drawing papers tend to have more texture than that. Cold press papers like those used for watercolor are real rough. And there's some pastel papers that have a coating on them and they feel almost like sandpaper. Now, I like to refer to the texture of the paper as its tooth. The tooth is a good word because when it comes to dry media like a pencil, it's easy to imagine the teeth biting off some of the pencil as they pass by. Those white spots we saw earlier, those were the valleys between the teeth. Now, even though I used the same pressure, the B pencils that were softer showed up as darker because they were softer and the teeth could bite off more as they passed by. Now, it's easy to think of teeth biting into something hard or soft, and it's kind of obvious why the teeth would bite off of more of something that's softer and make it appear darker. But why is it when we press real hard with a hard pencil that it doesn't appear as dark? Well, the answer is pretty simple. You break all the teeth and you can't mark anymore. And as a general rule of thumb, when using graphite pencils, it's best to start with the softer pencils first and then progress to the harder pencils. Because as you progress, you're just going to break more and more of the teeth. I generally prefer to start with a 2B pencil and then work my way to the HB and then the 2H. I also use 4Bs and 4Hs. I use them real sparingly for detailed dark and light work. Okay, here I'll start by adding the HB into some of the 2B shadings. Notice how it starts to fill in some of the valleys, but at the same time it also darkens things up a little bit. And it gets rid of some of the splotchiness. You can also do it to the 4B. I'm just using the same pressure going all the way down. Now, you can also do this with the 2H. I'll add the 2H into the HB, and notice how it'll get rid of some of the splotchiness, some of the valleys, and it doesn't darken out quite as much as the HB did, but we can also add that into here, and slowly we're blending and smoothing away the little valleys. of the teeth that didn't get hit by the lighter pressures in pencils. What I really want to show you is I'm going to take the 4B and try to mark it where the 4H was used as firmly as possible and all the teeth are broken. Using light pressure, you'll notice it's barely making a noticeable mark. All the teeth are broken here and they're not biting. The same is true with the 2H. It's not until I push really hard that I can even make... Oh, that pencil broke. It's not until I push really hard that I can even make a difference on here. Okay, that covers the graphite end of the pencil. If you remember back to the beginning, I threw away this eraser as completely useless, and you're probably wondering, how are we going to fix mistakes without eraser? Well, obviously we're never going to make mistakes. In fact, from here on out, you will never make a mistake again. That is, until once you get one of these kneaded erasers. The problem is thinking of an eraser as a mistake fixer, when it's actually a drawing tool just like a pencil. Let me show you. This paper has been smeared with some graphite, and what looks like a gray ball of silly putty here works like most erasers. You can use it rubbing like most erasers, but eventually it loses how well it works. As you can see, don't know if you can see there, but it's dark. It's covered with graphite. At this point, it works more like a smudger or a blender, and not so well as an eraser. But the reason it's called a kneaded eraser, not because you need it. Well, you actually do need it, but it's called a kneaded eraser because you clean it by kneading it like you knead bread dough. Now, there's all kinds of amazing things you can do with this eraser. Is something too dark? Tap on it. Just keep tapping on it lightly, and you can slowly lighten it up, and works pretty well. Now, you need to create a certain shape highlight. You can take the eraser and shape the tip of it into a point and use it like a pencil. Of course, the tip becomes dirty real fast, and all you do is you create another tip, and there you go. Now, if you need to light something up more than just dabbing alone does, what you can do is you shape the eraser, you push down, and you twist. It's another way to control how it works and the shape it makes, how it erases. Now, here's another interesting thing you could do. If you need to make a highlight in the hair, for example, you take the eraser and create a find edge and just drag it, and it will create a line. Interesting hair effects. Now, with this eraser, you can see that the eraser isn't just for fixing mistakes. It lightens, it blends, and it's a funky pencil in a way that lets you draw with white. The main reason why you're never going to make a mistake again is because I want you to start to think of your drawings as something that evolve. In the next episode, I'm going to start to show you how to sketch and evolve your drawings without thinking about mistakes. But before then, I have some lessons for you. These exercises, when you see them, you're going to think to yourself, what in the hell am I drawing? And that's the point. Just trust me, and we'll start to break the influence that your brain has over what you see. Just pay close attention to what you see, the values, and use your new tools, especially that kneaded eraser. Don't think, just try to reproduce what you see the best you possibly can. Now, once you finish with these exercises, I want you to hold on to them and tuck them away somewhere safe. In a couple episodes, we're going to have a surprise where you need to pull those exercises back out again. I look forward to seeing you next week, and until then, go to this web address or click over here or there somewhere to find your exercises. Bye-bye.